ahead and dive into our video guidelines, and we're going to utilize ourselves as an example so you can see what goes into this. When creating video content, there's so many more things that happen off camera, such as your lighting, your video, your typography, your color palette, and so much more. And oftentimes, so many people and our clients are so excited for the elements on camera that it's hard to understand what all is needed to bring your video content to life. But here at Adode Media, our video guidelines serve to fill in that gap. We do this for each of our clients in an avenue to make sure we get everything from you to have a seamless process. First and foremost, every one of them starts off with typography. And the whole premise of this is so that this way we know what is the look, the feel, and the text that shows up on screen. So anytime you say something and we want to emphasize it, we want to make sure that it's in line with your brand. So we'll either assist you in figuring out what your typography is by providing you with a few examples based off of your brand feel and our branding intake form. Next up is your logo. Now, granted, if you don't have a logo already, whether that's for your podcast or your brand or platform as a whole, our internal branding team can assist you with that. In our process, we create a main, a secondary, a submark, as well as wordmark logo. So if you don't have all of those elements, that's perfectly fine, but we always like to indicate in what instances you're going to utilize that detail. So your main logo will be used in this instance versus your submark or your wordmark. It's always important to have variety, but this is the whole premise of having this document so that this way it is very streamlined and clear in what capacity each item is utilized. Next up is color hierarchy. Now, as you'll notice, I love bright colors and I love to make sure that on camera it showcases. But it's important that we understand from you in what capacity each element of your color palette should be utilized. So we kind of outline this here, but we also ask you a slew of questions to understand which one should be your accent color and which one are your main colors. And I'll say this again, if you don't have your color palette or any of those details, here at Adode Media, our branding and design team can support you with that. Next up is your iconography as well as your brand illustrations. Now, as a brand, we love illustrations. So for us, there's a lot of different elements that are already created. This piece is not necessary if your brand specifically doesn't utilize illustrations in the same capacity. But if you have check marks or lists that you're going over, because as you'll notice, if you've watched previous videos, I love a good list from 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that this way you can kind of stay abreast. But if that's not how your content is formatted, we don't have to have lists. So list and numbering and illustrations, this piece isn't 100% for every client that we work with. But here at Adode Media, I love a good countdown. Next up is shapes. Now, when we think of your lower third or we think of highlighting a particular topic or element that you're talking about, it's important that we understand what type of shapes. And I'll keep saying this, if this is not things that you have yet, we'll create those elements for you and provide you with different options so that this way your video guidelines also serves as a resource for yourself and your overall brand. If you decide to take your show elsewhere or your video content to another production company, you can take this with you. But I'm fairly sure once you experience us, you'll be stuck with us for life. Next up is your video treatment, or as we say, your lower thirds. At any point, just to kind of give you more information as to what a lower third is, it's whenever your name shows up on screen or your guest, so that this way it's kind of showing at the lower portion. It could be your logo and those other elements. We like to indicate what type of illustration, like what type of animation should be taking place. If you don't already have this, we will provide you with 10 different options, and then you get to select one so that way we can include it in your video treatment. Now for us, we have 4 because it's dependent on what type of topic we are discussing. So if I'm doing an informational video versus a educational or something fun or a promotional video, that's kind of how we break ours down. And you're more than welcome to do the same for your own content with us here at Adode. Next up is your Reels captions. We have what we call is a safe zone, or should I say, social media and YouTube shorts and everything else, they have specific safe zone areas. This is very important for us because it's important to know what you are comfortable with. So we provide you with what the safe zones are, where we will place your captions. But of course, if you want your logo or your submark on your reels, we'll also allow for space for that to be included, whether on the top or the bottom. And this makes a difference in how we shoot your content on site. Next up is B-roll. I love a good B-roll because it allows for you to showcase the behind the scenes of what's taking place, as well as just understanding how you tell that story. Now, depending on what your content is, it could be that you have a podcast that is focused on sharing your content about your brand. We will come and capture that B-roll, and this guideline helps us understand how to capture your B-roll. Now, remember earlier I said I love a good list. If you don't have a list breakdown or anything of that nature, you don't have to have your listing with a background. For us, I'm doing a recap or any of those details, we like to break it down with a background, which if you look closely, it shows our submark within it. And it also aligns with our brand coloring and it determines a lot. Next up is our video and video. Similar to what you are watching right now, it also showcases how best to show that information. So let's say you are a coach and you have a course. We'll make sure that as we are helping you share your course details and create that type of content, we've created a seamless video and video experience that you look good and still sound good in. Next up is your text on screen. Now, this is a little bit different than your lower thirds. You'll notice throughout videos, if you watch any of our past content, I often have pop-ups that show with quotes from my particular video or pieces that we want to draw your attention to. So your text on screen allows for us to showcase and outline how best that should be done for your brand and your vision. Next up is BTS content. So we talked about B-roll, which is often a bit of BTS at times, but this helps us walk through the purpose, the planning, how to capture BTS content, how to highlight key moments and everything else in between. The reason for this is, once again, as a team, if we are shooting content for you, there's a videographer who is handling the main key shots and then somebody else who's handling BTS. This allows for us to provide you with the treatment so you understand what's happening beforehand so that this way you know how to prepare from an outfit perspective as well as even the venue that you're shooting for because we do create content outside of our studio. Next up is client testimonials. So here at Adobe Media, we love to make sure we pull in what our clients are sharing. But it's important to understand how we should best structure that so that way, clean going in, clean going out. Same concept for you. If you are capturing client testimonials for your business or your brand, we want to make sure we understand what is your target with it. What are you utilizing this content for so that this way we can capture the appropriate content on site. Next up is logo animations. Now, if you don't have a logo animation, of course, internally, we can support you with that. But I love a good logo animation because it helps us introduce your overall brand in a seamless fashion. So this showcases where you can find the logo animations, anything that's created, because this is also kind of like your one-stop shop resource for everything with your video. And last but definitely not least is your end screens. So I'm not sure if you've seen this before on YouTube. You'll see where it kind of closes out into an end screen. And for us, our end screens are broken down into 3 different categories, and so is our content as a whole. Item 1 is promotional content, then educational, then fun. And so we have end screens that match that element of the video, and it kind of helps us ensure that each portion of your video content is seamless. So I hope this information was helpful. So let's quickly just break down the premise, the purpose of our video guidelines and why we do these for clients. 1, it ensures that we are able to fully understand what you are needing from your video content. It allows for both of us to be on the same page. It allows for the team to be able to know how to set up your scenes, set up your cameras, set up your lighting, and so much more. 2, the whole premise of our video guidelines is so that this way you have a comprehensive resource for, let's say you go out of state and you want to create content on site, you're able to give that to an offsite videographer. 3, Same thing around out of state. If you go to another studio and we are supporting you with the post production, you can give this to that particular studio to capture your content, and it allows for everything to be seamless and still on brand. Item number 4 is one, we believe in service and communication. I love the fact that our video guidelines includes every element that you will sign off on before we ever start off on your edits. This ensures that we are speaking apples to apples and you understand what the end result is going to be, because as you notice, there's quite a few examples and breakdowns in your guideline to ensure that we're all on the same page. And last but definitely not least, we believe that it's good service. And that's the most important thing to us here at Adode Media, is ensuring that we have provided our clients with end-to-end service that feels like we're wrapping our arms around you to support you at every step of the process. And breaking down the guidelines so that this way you can see it, you can understand it before you ever hit record, we believe it's the best way to go about supporting you in your video content creation. Now, if you are ready to get started, if you're like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely amazing, you feel my level of excitement, and you are ready to create video content for yourself, in your business, or your brand, feel free to reach out to us here at Adode Media, and we'll be happy to assist you. You can find us at adodemedia.com. Until next time, have a good one.